Hi, welcome to Family Law Friday presented by Florida Women's Law Group. My name is Betsy Corbett and I'm part of the marketing team. Family Law Friday is designed to be a resource for all women with a family law issue. Today we will be discussing child custody in Florida. Before we get started, I wanted to give you some information about our host, Heather Quick. Heather is the founder and owner of Florida Women's Law Group that advocates for women in North Florida. The firm educates and empowers women on the law so that they can find the strength to endure the process and come out better, both financially and emotionally. She's been a licensed Florida attorney for over 20 years, with the majority of her practice being in family law. Please join me in welcoming Heather Quick to Family Law Friday.
Thank you so much, Betsy, and welcome to Family Law Friday. Today, we are discussing, as Betsy said, the issues with child custody and time sharing. So if, and this is a general overview as to what that entails, particularly in Florida, and really, if you have minor children and you are in a relationship and the two of you part ways, are no longer together, either as a married couple or as just a couple. And most obviously, if it's a divorce, you're going through court proceedings because you have to resolve issues such as, assets and liabilities, spousal support, child support, and the child custody, which it's not really called custody, but it's the time sharing of the children, the parenting plan. How that is going to work in a household that's no longer together, no longer married. Now, and I'm just going to touch on this because it does apply to you if you have children with somebody but you're not legally married. If you split, and then whether, if you split and you used to be in the same household, or even if you lived in different households but just had an informal agreement, if there comes a time where y'all don't agree, court action is required. It's the only way to establish who is going to do what and the rights of each parent. That's why this is important to discuss and begin the discussion on, what does that look like in Florida? And what we look at in any time when we are involved in a case that have children, minor children, and that means under 18. Some states are different, and in Florida, it's under the age of 18. You only are required by law to support your children until the age of 18, and the family law court loses jurisdiction to order certain things as it relates to children once they're over 18 because there's no longer a duty. So when we look at that, we're going to always, and this is the way your attorney is going to approach it, if you are in a trial, if you are in mediation, there is a certain order with which we address different issues. And that is because they do impact the other issues in a divorce. And that's why we deal with and address the time sharing of the children. First, we look at what is that parenting plan going to look like. Now, I know that sounds, like parenting plan. Why do I need a plan? I've been a parent for however long. I don't know that I need a parenting plan. Well, in the state of Florida and you're getting divorced, you do. And or, splitting up with the, father of your child, you do. And that is because it is going to outline who has what rights, responsibilities, what schedule are we going to follow, who's going to be responsible for certain costs. And essentially, this is how our life is going to operate now that we are no longer together and in agreement. Frankly, probably be helpful for all parents to have a plan and an agreement when they're having children, but or at least in writing, but most people don't. I certainly don't. But once you divorce, this is required. You're not going to get out of that divorce without the judge saying, nope, there has to be a parenting plan. So let's talk about what some of those things mean. Well, the word now we use the words time sharing, parental responsibility for what used to be called, and this was like 20 years ago, it's been beyond, like a long time, custody. Because many individuals, and that's why we do use the word custody still, because most people do think of it that way I'm just trying to help educate you and let you know this is the way the court's going to talk about this, way your attorney is going to discuss these terms with you, and it's very helpful to understand. So let's talk about what's called parental responsibility. In Florida, we use the term shared parental responsibility. Now, that may sound very fancy, and you're like, what does that mean? It means you're going to parent together. Unless there is something gravely wrong with the other parent, it's going to be shared parental responsibility. And when I say that, I mean they're in jail. I'm talking extremes. They have a significant mental disorder that prevents them from participating, or it would be a danger to the child. They have a severe substance abuse problem that prevents them from exercising shared parental, truly being an equal part in these decisions. So it's not that, oh, well, I disagree with him on most things. I want to have full decision making on these issues. Very difficult unless they agree, which obviously if you two are having differences, it's unlikely they would agree. And there are certainly some issues where we get sole parental responsibility. What does parental responsibility mean? I mean, it's essentially raising your child, but it means you are deciding together on medical issues, on education issues, on religious issues. Those are big things that the courts don't really want to touch. They are not going to touch religious issues, and it can be, they're very, very difficult due to the separation of church and state. I could do a whole thing about that because I do find it fascinating, and I think that there are, in those instances, people, they need help in resolving some things, particularly when it comes to the schooling that's under a religious heading, but it also provides really good school, and if there's a disagreement with that. But on education and medical, sometimes there are real disagreements that require a lot of litigation. We've certainly done that. Medicine seems to be a big one, and it's unfortunate when there's not an agreement, because I know it's tough enough for children who have been diagnosed with whatever the issue is, and for then the doctor to place them on medication, how to match, and it has to be consistent. It has to be done when both parents aren't on the same page. It requires court intervention. And it can be very, very difficult, because then when the child's with the other parent, are they complying? A lot of things that at the end of the day hurt the child. But those are what we're talking about when we talk about parental responsibility. So when you see that, oh, it says shared parental, wait, I didn't think we were having 50-50. That's not the scheduling, the time sharing. That's just the overall responsibility. And when I say responsibility, I do mean personal responsibility for your child. And and this is just me personally, there's the education nowadays with school. Both emails should be on there. I do not think that it should be one parent's responsibility to tell you about the events at your child's school, because everybody can get the same emails. If you choose not to read them, then that's on you. And that is my position, not necessarily the court's position, but I have children in school. I know how much emails and communications, and if you want to know what's going on, you can know what's going on. And it's better to get it directly from the school. Same with the physicians. So many things now are making it easier to access the information online and understand what's going on, what appointments are necessary, what's scheduled, what vaccinations they've had, everything that you would need to know. But that's what we talk about when we talk about parental responsibility. And the only thing that you really can't do, I mean, you should always consult, and there should be a plan and communication as regards to the health of your child. And generally speaking, most doctors' offices, schools, they're going to let one parent make a decision. They're not going to require both parents to make that decision. So just, so that is what's required. The only thing you both, in order to get a child's passport, that is very specific requirements by the federal government that require both signatures with a lot of specificity. We have had those situations where we've had to get a court order to get certain documentation signed, and provided in order to have a passport legally issued for a child. Again, that a little bit goes beyond the scope, but sometimes those are issues and you really don't know it's an issue until it becomes an issue. So those are within the parental responsibility. But then when we talk about time sharing, now we're talking about how much time is the child going to spend with each parent. Now, I will tell you that that then directly affects the amount of child support. So we need to figure out the time scheduling first. Very often, the amount of money to be paid is influencing the amount of time that a father may want with their child. And this is just my view after doing this for many years. And when they say, hey, I want more than 40% of the time, it's because at 40%, the scales really tip and it does begin to alter child support significantly on those overnights. At the end of the day, the time sharing schedule should absolutely be based on what's in the best interest of the child. The court's view and most therapists' view is that it is in a child's best interest to spend as much time with each parent as possible, period. Now, is that right for every child? Is every parent great for every child? Those are the specific cases, but I sincerely believe understanding the spirit of the law, the approach that the courts are going to take gives you a better understanding of what you're looking at. Even if you have always been the one who's done everything for the kids and your husband is not, and now you're going through the divorce and you're just questioning how in the world is he going to do this. He's going to be able to have time with the child, and a lot of it is you got to let him figure it out. And if he does spend time with them, that is better for your children, period. Because the more time they can spend, the more they feel loved by both parents, particularly in a divorce and breakup, the healthier your children will be. Now, he's not going to do it just like you, and he's not going to do it just right. As long as they're not in danger. Those are what the courts are going to be looking at. Now, in 2021, the circuits here in the 4th Circuit, which is Duval, Clay, St. Johns County, and the 5th Circuit down with St. John's, Putnam, Flagler, we are seeing a shift, finally, because for many, many, many years, it was every other weekend and really just a night during the week for dinner, not an overnight. Well, they have now, you will hear the term guidelines. Every local jurisdiction has a lot of local things that those judges tend to order. Doesn't mean that's the way it has to be. It's going to be that as a default unless there is something, unless that's not in the best interest of the child. What that is it's a long weekend so that, one parent does have them during the week, the other one has them every other weekend, maybe Thursday through Sunday, Thursday through Monday. And then on the weeks where they don't have them on the weekend, they're going to have them a couple nights during the week. This requires communication with the parents. But again, when we talk about parental responsibility, I again say also personal responsibility. If you've got your child during the week, you need to know what tests they have, what homework they have, and you need to do it. And for those, women, mothers who are like, no, this is what they have to do. They need to do it. You can't control everything. And the fathers are going to have to step up and make sure it gets done or the children will suffer. So, that's pretty much a bit on what time sharing and parental responsibility means now, as you enter into this divorce stage. And then when we talked about a parenting plan, it's going to address the extracurricular activities and what is the division of costs. It's going to address the schedule, the normal schedule, whether there's a summer schedule, whether there's what the holiday schedule is. Also, it needs to address the summer camp schedule. And, children go through, of course, they have different needs at different ages. And, summers when your children are young can be extremely expensive and require a lot of organization if you're working, because you've got children in multiple different places, needing to find a summer camp where they're safe, but they're having fun. it takes a lot of work and organization. And those things should be addressed in there. Too often summer is left out, and that can be one of the most expensive times for families with small children. And when I say small children, like they're in school, so they're out of the daycare preschool phase, but now they're in school, so there's no summer care and what to do with them. Those are things that you should really, take a look at. If your child has historically gone away to a camp, you want to address those costs now, because trust me, too often the father now is like, no, not paying it. I'm paying child support, which, by the way, child support doesn't cover camp. Child support doesn't cover child care. And rarely does it cover a whole lot more than some food and, the minimal on clothes. So the more you can include in a parenting plan. School supplies. School supplies are expensive at the beginning of every year. How are we going to divide that? Who's going to be responsible? How are we going to divide summer camp? Is there issues on transportation? Is that going to cost? How are we going to address that? You can address in a parenting plan too. Hey, if your children are preteens approaching, are you going to buy them a car? Are we going to buy a car? Who's insurance? Who's going to pay for the insurance? How are we going to handle those things? The more that you can put in there, the better, because now, again, it's just a better plan. It's really thinking of everything that is coming in the future to be resolved. And at the end of the day, it has to do with what's in the best interest of the child. Many times we do have experts who come in to testify, and based on this family and these children, this is in their best interest. This is the schedule that will suit them the best. Often it's testimony from maybe just the parents, maybe the teachers, the medical, professionals, but ultimately a judge may make that decision, and, they get it, they do the best they can. Usually trials are a pretty short period of time for them to make those decisions. So if it's possible to come to an agreement, and it's not always possible, sometimes you can have a lot more control and say in these types of things that are going to occur during your children's lives, and how the two of you can anticipate to resolve those things. Once that divorce or paternity action is final, you have that parenting plan, you have a child support number, and you have it all lined out. If you ever want to change it, then you have to go back to court to modify, which really starts the whole process of an original proceeding, because there are going to be certain legal standards you're going to have to meet in order to change the original parenting plan. We talk, I talk about this with clients all the time, potential clients, this is what it's going to take to change it. And it can be very fact specific, but certainly if you're in a situation where you maybe didn't have counsel, or your counsel didn't address all these things in the original parenting plan, and things have changed, it is time to go back, please let us know, because then, we can help you with a modification. And if you are beginning the process, or really just not sure how it's going to look for you, you can reach out to us as well. And because that's why we're here. That's why I started this firm, is to help women just like you navigate this, which can be confusing and sometimes overwhelming part of divorce, and just difficult emotionally, because we talk about your children in a non-emotional way, not by intent, just because we've got a lot of things to decide and to determine. But we're here for you. Betsy will let you know how best to reach out to us. If this is something that you see on your horizon, or if you have done it in the past, you want to look to see if there are changes that can be made, please let us know, because we are here for you.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you to everyone that was able to join us today. If you have a question about child custody or any other family law issue, please give us a call at 904-241-0012, or look for us on the internet at FloridaWomen'sLawGroup.com. Thanks.